Hey everyone, it's a hot one. Welcome to a very, very special live stream, the ice cream live stream. Very special glitch live stream because it is hot out and it was recently National Ice Cream Day. We are doing a special edition ice cream themed live stream. I'm joined with the wonderful and very special guest, Lyzi Diamond, a fellow developer advocate. Super glad to have Lyzi here with me today because we're going to have some fun. We're going to do some ice cream themed glitch remixes, and we'll be taking ice cream themed requests from Los Audience. So if you have any glitch projects you'd like to have an ice cream spin blended into, we can do that. And otherwise, we have a couple fun ones we're going to start off with today. Lyzi, you want to say hello, say anything?
Hello. We came up with this idea like 6 months ago. And we're like, what is
so excited
today? And then we planned around it for very long. So as it should be noted, Glitch does not endorse any particular ice cream brand or flavor.
Absolutely not. So I wanted to start off because I think one of the first thing I thought of when I thought of an ice cream project was a project that Lyzi, you built called Neapolitan, which itself is a remix of a project called, I believe, Oreo. Yeah, Oreo. So let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start. Let's go pull up Oreo here and show what Oreo does. Oreo is a very, very simple but delightful project that lets you make the Oreo of your dreams. So let's say O's are cookies and Re's are cream. So let's say I want like a intensely stuffed cookie here. There we go. Or I can add or re o. Anyway, you get the idea. You can make a very powerful Oreo. So Lyzi, you remixed this into Neapolitan, which I thought was a delight, which is, I'm going to really quickly link that project because we're moving fast. Neapolitan, and this is the same idea, but instead it's Nia, Poly, Tan, Poly, Nia. And it's wonderful. And you can make, and honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm not a chocolate ice cream person, so I can finally make the Neapolitan that I've always wanted, which is Neapoli.
Yeah. No tan.
Neapolinia. I like a strawberry. That's a nice combo. What I thought I wanted to do was do another ice cream themed remix of Neapolitan and do Spumoni. Is a variety of ice cream with usually candied fruits and nuts, but the classic combination that I think of when I think of is going to be like pistachio, cherry, and chocolate. So it's going to be like green, red, and brown. And so we can just sort of choose what the Spa, Mo, and Ni are, but I want to just do a simple remix to show how this app works and then make it Spumoni themed. So we're going to pull that up.
Yeah, I have a suggestion too, once we make it Spumoni themed. The Oreo app, as you add more cookies and cream into the Oreo, it gets the window gets larger vertically. I never switched it so that with the Neapolitan, that the window never gets wider. So as you add more ice cream flavors, as you saw, like each flavor has a smaller and smaller area.
All right, so we're going to send out this link to the project our remix project. So I'm going to do Spumoni, drop that in chat, and people can jump in and follow along and take a look at the code. And if Lyzi, you want to jump in, I will invite you so you can make edits too. Quickly updating the README.
One thing to update as well is, and this is just a good glitch pro tip, in the top right of the editor where your project's name is, if you click that little arrow, you can edit the description as well. So right now it says create a custom Neapolitan, Nia equals straw, Poly equals van, Tan equals chalk, but that is no longer the case with this app, so we need to update that description.
There, so I've sort of the README are we're doing a glitch description driven development here. I'm going to copy paste the description here as well so we can see what we want to do. We're creating a custom Spumoni. Spoo is cherry, mo is pistachio, and ni is chocolate. So this is going to be a pretty simple one, but I actually have never seen this code before, so I'm excited to go take a look. Looks like it's getting an element called Oreo, which I'm going to assume just lives over here. I may update the name of that to be Spumoni, just so I'm not confused. And then Spumoni, Mo, Ni. This is going to get a little bit like What's Tater's Precious, I think. Spumoni, Spumoni.
What is the name for that? When you look at a, what is that called? When you look at a word so many times and you can't.
Oh, what is that? What's the name of that effect where, like, if you say something, you see a word too many times, it just breaks? I feel like we're going to get there real fast.
I mean, I'm already there.
I love, I'm looking at this code. I love that this is effectively like, this is like a parser. This is way more advanced than I anticipated. I love this.
Isn't it great? So
oh my goodness, I want to take a look at this code. Yeah, go ahead. Give me a walkthrough.
Wait, did I not change it to? I didn't change it from Oreo. It all still said Oreo. Oh dang. Okay. Or actually no. Let's look at this create cookie function, which I guess we will rename, but I didn't apparently. What in essence what this function is doing is it's taking whatever text is in the text box that you can type in, and it is splitting it into like every character is its own character or is its own value in the chars array. And so then it looks at each of the characters and it's like, okay, if the first character, or if the character is an N and the next character is an E and the next character is an A, then we add Nia to the tokens. And then once the tokens array has been populated and it goes through every character, then each token becomes a part of the ice cream.
So this for each is here, and it's getting the current character, but it's using the reference to the full list so we can look ahead. So this CH is the current character, but I is the current position, and chars is a reference to the whole array.
Correct.
And so we can look ahead and say, okay, the current characters N are the next two E and A, which we're going to change, but that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly, and I want to also point out that there are a couple different ways that you can do this. In addition to for each, there are a few different methods that allow you to iterate over every element in an array and do something with it. The ones that come to mind in like a different genre are map, filter, and reduce, which are just more specific versions of for each. So a reduce will add some sort of value that needs to be true in order for that element to remain in the array. A map says, okay, when this happens, put this in the array instead. And then filter is, wait, did I mix up filter and reduce?
Oh, I think so, yeah. That's okay. Filter looks for true or false, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then reduce adds, a reduce can aggregate or like change things by adding different parts of the array together or like some specific values. Right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's totally right. The way I like to think of it is that reduce reduces the size of the array. Filter also makes a smaller array, but map keeps things the same size. Like map is just a 1-to-1. It's a 1-to-1 mapping. And for every element, there's an element. Filter filters out elements, makes the list smaller, and reduce also reduces things down.
In essence, like if we wanted to replace the for each with one of those, we would replace it with a reduce, right?
I would use a reduce. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, because a filter can only keep existing elements or filter out existing elements. We want to make a smaller list of new elements. And actually, that might be a fun challenge. I believe it's Result is the first argument, then the current thing, then I, then the full list. And you pass
So
in what you want.
Is the out? What is result?
Result is going to be the thing that's returned at the end.
Gotcha.
And so the way the function works is you say it actually outputs something, so we don't need to define tokens. And then what you can see is, as opposed to, I have tokens push here. What I actually want to do is
return result or return.
Actually, I can say tokens here. Because tokens is the name.
Oh, I see. It's the total array.
Tokens is the name of the thing we're going to return at the end. It doesn't have to be an array. It can be anything, which is what's really cool about reduce. Reduce takes a list and spits out something else. In this case, we're spitting out another array. But the way it knows that I'm spitting out another array is you can see there's actually another argument. So just the function down here on line 34. You can see I had to pass a second argument, which is whatever the initial value that we're putting into this reducing machine is.
So basically by putting the empty array there as the second value of reduce, we are saying our output is going to be, we're starting with an empty array?
That is correct. We're starting with an empty array, which is equivalent to what we had earlier where we said let tokens equals empty array.
Inside of a reduce, do we have to, does this function have to return something?
It does, and right now we're not returning something because you could return anything. And what that's going to do is that's how you know what the ultimate return value is.
Can you make the variable called something like tokens prime or something so that it's not, because like the variable of, because we have tokens, which is defined as a parameter of the first function in reduce, but also the whole thing is called token.
That is a little confusing. Let's say, let me call the outer thing output tokens. Is that? Okay.
That sounds great. Yeah, I just sometimes, if you see things that are the same.
Well, reusing that is a little confusing. Because these are actually two different scopes. This variable and that variable didn't mean the same thing. They ultimately, one becomes the other.
Right.
Kent Keyturn says, reduce plus look ahead is going to be a little bit of a tricky combo. That might be true. But I think we're going to be okay because we only have to add things when we want to. But this could be a little funky. I guess we're going to find out.
Why is it tricky? Is it because we're not, with a reduce, we're not mutating the original array.
No, we're not. It's left alone.
And the chars array stays the same, right? So what would make it tricky then?
I think we're going to be okay because we have a reference to the original array. It also does appear that by default, let me see if I have a JS error, but there's definitely something going on.
Oh, well, the index.html needs to be updated with the new tokens.
Oh, okay.
Because right now it's looking for a Nia, a Paula, and a Tan, but we have to tell it to look for a Spa, Mo, and Me. Oh, wait, no, we did that.
I renamed those, but I think there's no styles to say what those are.
That'll do it.
So, So now I'm going to go to the styles. Mo. Ni. It's funny, I keep seeing the word Spumoni, and it's trying to make me think of, like, Cool Mo D. Is that weird?
No.
Cool Mo D is, by definition, cool. Oh, and also I renamed this variable, or I renamed the ID of this element.
So note for the CSS, for folks who don't look at CSS very often, the octothorpe denotes, aka hashtag sign, denotes an ID of an element versus a dot, which denotes a class. And IDs can only be used one time, and classes can be used multiple times. Yeah, and then because CSS is a cascading, here on line 33, we are defining the width, the color, but also the width, height, margin, and position. And then those are those cascade down so that Mo and Ni don't, on 41 and 45, don't need to redefine the width and height because that's already been created for them in that's actually not an example of cascading. However, it is true that you don't have to redefine.
And they have, I think, do they have a flex set on them?
Yeah, see, that's where we get into CSS I don't understand. I don't know what that means.
Looks like they're getting tinier.
Yes, right. They're getting.
So they're
tinier.
flexing down. They're flexing downward.
Is that what row reverse means? Where is it defining that?
That's interesting that it's row reverse. I wonder why they did row reverse. Because it's interesting. We see reverse here. Right? But then we also... So this is not going to look backward. However, in our script, the script was also reversing the output. So we're double reversing it. I'm just going to just go in here and undo that.
Do you think it's because of the original Oreo, like stacking on the bottom?
Yes, I think you're absolutely correct. I think they did a bottom up. When in the original, it may have been column reverse, and when you remixed it, you changed it to row reverse, which is eminently sensible. So it's interesting. These have, let's see what we've got here. These have a width, but they're shrinking. And that means, but what if I say flex shrink 0? So now they shouldn't shrink.
Can you explain what flex means?
Indeed, they did not shrink. They are now massive. Flex, so display flex is what we do. Flexbox. Flexbox allows elements to grow to fill extra space or shrink because there's not insufficient space. It's really nice. If you look at, like, the best way to think about it is look at the toolbar of your browser. You'll see here, I have this URL bar that's really wide, but they didn't program in exactly how big it is. They just say, hey, URL bar, take up the extra space. There's some buttons over here and some buttons over here, and URL bar, take up the rest. And that is what's happening with Flexbox. With the cool thing about Flexbox is you don't have to know what order elements are in, right? You say anytime there's an element that is flexible, wherever it appears, it will be flexible. It lets you do order independent. So essentially you say like you, Mr. or element with class blah, you're a flexible element and your neighbors aren't. However, versus something like grid, where grid is actually a top down, where it says anyone in position 3, you are this big. It doesn't matter who's in position 3. They take those sizes. So, even in the world where CSS Grid exists, Flexbox is still valuable because if you don't know the order of the output, you can still tell things to be flexible. It's pretty neat. You can see that I set Flex Shrink on this, and it immediately became gigantic. So obviously, there's something to be done there. Maybe I would love for this to grow a little bit. I wonder what that would take to do. Oh, go ahead.
The thing with ID Spumoni in the HTML is the outer div with the blue border.
Correct. I think so.
Yes, according to what it says in the index, that is what that is. Yeah, and also it says border 5 pixels solid, and then this.
Oh yeah, so that's definitely the right thing.
And so we want that to get wider as the other elements in it get wider as well, right?
Correct. So I want it to grow. Right now it is not growing, which tells me that something is stopping that from happening. Let's see. What would the culprit be here? It's probably that it has an actual width set on it. I don't know if you see that.
Yeah.
So if I unset that width, we're now going to have a very wide container. We're also going to have this weird thing where it looks like chocolate is... Things are getting a little better.
Does it have like padding on...
It doesn't look like it's got padding on more than one side, which is why it's very strange that it's... Oh, right. Now it's just as big as the window. It's not shrinking to be the right size. To do that, we do maybe an inline flex, which is, weird flex, but okay. Okay, so now it's like that. But now to center it, you need to have it in a container. We're just going to, because I'm a chaos Muppet, just set everything to center. And now, okay, so Spumoni.
Oh, that's how you center things. Kind of. This is like a hacky centering, right?
It's a totally, so there's two ways to do centering. The other thing here, I'll do the more, because I'm doing an inline flex, and I don't know how big the container is going to be. Here, let's do the actual, let's do this. Let's do Spumoni box container. So we'll make a Spumoni container.
I'll
Thank you. Spumoni container. And so what I can do is, if this is sort of what I would consider to be the modernish correct way of doing this. And we would say justify content center, which says along the axis. So justify is along the axis of layout, and align is against the axis of layout. So this is a row, and I'm justifying things. I mean, text is justified. I'm text justifying it to the center. So if we go to our index.html, we wrap our Spumoni in a Spumoni container, a carton. Maybe I should call it a carton. We can.
Ooh.
So now, if I reload, okay, everything is back to left align, but that is centered.
Cool.
We are missing one very important thing. Can you see it?
Colors?
Our Spumoni is the wrong color. You nailed it. So I want to make, I said cherry, pistachio, and chocolate. We can leave chocolate alone. I actually want to use my little color picker that I made called HSLA. Cool. So here's currently our strawberry. And I want to make that into more of a cherry. So I'm going to maybe make that a bit redder and a little bit deeper. Just maybe a skosh more saturated.
H is hue, S is saturation, and L is lightness.
Correct. Yeah.
Lightness felt wrong, but I knew it was right.
It actually is correct, even though it sounds like you're just like making it up. But actually, I think maybe even a little bit deeper on that cherry, but then a little less saturated to match. This is way more effort than anyone should put into their ice cream colors.
I think I just made a pretty good pistache.
Ooh, bring it in. That's gonna be your mo.
You want the hex code?
Yeah, read it off, or you can just paste it in the CSS. Up to you.
Alpha 8. I forget what F is.
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot 0. Alpha Echo.
I'm ready.
Nice.
I love it. It's got that kind of artificially green. It's perfect. It's almost mint chip, but I still like it.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a little bit greener, maybe.
No, I think the oversaturated is appropriate for the sort of thing we're talking about here. Keyturn asked luminance or luminescence.
Ooh.
I believe luminescence is an emo band, but luminance is actually refers to the idea of overall intensity and lightness of a color. I believe HSL is actually not a luminance thing. Luminance refers to like when they're transmitting a television signal, like a black and white image varies on luminance. Okay, they're saying lightness and luminosity are comparable, which is according to...
But isn't luminosity measured by a unit of lumens?
Yes. And you'll notice that like HSL here says hue saturation lightness. I think there are color models where it is luminosity because that's like a physical model, but in computer world, I think you call it lightness because luminosity has this other signal processing analog television meaning that's hecka confusing.
I'm changing the color.
You don't like it? It's too much?
Check that out. Yeah. I like that.
Ooh, just a soupçon less. My cherry's pretty over the top, and I'm not sorry.
I mean, I feel like most cherry ice cream that you get, though, is like not actually brightly colored.
It's extremely faint. I mean, actually, the cherry ice cream in even in the Wikipedia article for Spumoni is actually more pink than your average cherry ice cream. But we're tripling down here. We're doing this is a cartoon Spumoni. Cartoon Spumoni sounds like, I don't know, some after school.
Cartoons. I mean, I feel like there's that television show Recess. Wasn't there someone on that show named Spumoni?
Almost certainly.
Spinelli.
All right. I want to capture the lineage. Ooh. Keyturn throwing down in chat. Are there actually cherry pieces in it, though? I like the cutting.
Can we... Okay, that's actually cool. Let's do this.
Uh-huh.
How do we add a pattern in CSS to the cherry color so that it has cherries in it.
That's exactly what I'm wondering. I think that is a very cool idea. So I'm going to try something, which is I'm going to try SVG drawing some cherries right here in our HTML document.
Oh my god. So the thing you should know about Potch, dear listener, is that Potch really likes SVGs. And so much so that like occasionally you'll find him adjusting the actual location, like number locations of the vertices with the D value. So, you know, don't feel like you need to.
This is a pretty lightweight one, I feel like.
Okay. Well,
I
I mean,
feel
yes,
pretty.
it gives you a.
This one I feel like is going to be not as over the top as these can be. So we're going to do x equals weight 8, y equals 8, because circle is a command. Circle is a command in SVG. So this is eminently reasonable. R equals 5, and we'll say fill equals, what's like a dark cherry color, right? Because cherries in ice cream are dark.
Y'all can see it, right? Up in that like top left, like right under the S in Spumoni.
Oh yeah, it's like kind of weirdly placed, which tells me that my parameters are wrong. Should be CX and CY.
Yeah.
For center. That. Yeah. Okay, so let's tune that color. For some reason, mine is not auto reloading, which is kind of refresh app on changes is not checked. Well, there's your problem.
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Good pro tip: you can set your project to refresh, or your app to refresh on changes, or you can turn that off. Some people find it really annoying, especially if you're building an app that is like making a request to an API. You definitely don't want it to reload on changes, because if it's going to request something on load, then you probably want it to not do that, because you might get like rate limited or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What Lyzi said. There's our, does that pass muster as a cherry, Lyzi?
Sure.
Great. So we need 2 of those. So 32 minus 8 is 24. 24. It's great. There are our cherries. So now what I can do is if I go over to our CSS, and it's specifically, so I'm actually going to create a new selector for this, because I don't want to have to be undoing the image work that I'm going to be doing. And it's going to be background image URL cherries. I'm going to pause there to see if that did anything. There's a chance it didn't. And low, I don't see it. Do you?
No. I still see them in the top left.
You still see them in the top left. That's the SVG in the document.
But where is the SVG? So is this URL referencing the ID cherries? Is that meant to reference the thing in the SVG in the document?
It is. And that is a thing one can do. We're going to pull up my favorite article of all time, the CSS Tricks article. It's the CSS Tricks thing on using SVG background images. Using SVG. I believe that's the one. And there's so yeah, you can see, okay, using SVG as a background image has its own special browser support. These days, it's pretty common. Okay, I could pull this out to be its own image file, it looks like. Maybe we'll do it that way. That way it's not in the document. That's probably going to be the safer option. So let's take our mostly complete SVG file here, and let's pull it out. And let's make a new file in Glitch. Cherries.svg. It dances. Woo, what did I do? Oh, I changed tabs. Okay, cherries.svg. I believe I'm going to have to include some extra properties to make a standalone SVG file. I forget what those are off the top of my head, but would you be surprised to learn that I do this so often that I look it up by pulling up a document, another graphic that I've done. Mm-hmm. I need a view box and a namespace. So let's pull those up. It's this I Heart HTML5 heart, which I like a lot. I drew a long time ago. But it's like a pretty handwritten file that makes it easy for me to find. And then this is 32,
oh, beautiful.
32 by 32. And now we can go into style and say that it's actually going to be cherries.svg. See if that works. And if that doesn't work, then I have further questions. It doesn't seem to. Are you seeing it, Lizzie?
No, I'm not. I'm wondering if it's like they're too big or spaced out that they're not actually showing up. Like what happens if you do like just buzz, 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 buzz. I like it. Maybe it's just like not fitting inside of that.
I see what you're saying. I'm going to do a quick network console check to see if it's actually even loading the image. Aha! Will you look at this? Look at our server. Our server is serving any file that isn't style or script as index.html.
Oh, that's not great.
No, that's not what you like to see in a major consumer appliance.
So just to clarify, what that app was saying is like if you tried to go to any other page that isn't index, or if you try to go to any page like spumoni.glitch.me/foo, it would just read back to the index.html.
Yeah, which is like a big oops.
Right, but I mean, I think it makes sense, right? Like,
oh, I get it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, like, because of the nature of this app, like, if we open it in a new window and you look at the URL as you type, you can see that your input is being used as a URL parameter, or being put into the URL, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I like the cherries. They look nice.
And so I have, okay, the cherries are in there. I think they're a little big, so we're going to use CSS to shrink them. This is really cool. You have, especially with vector images, you can say background size, and we'll just say, I don't know, 20 pixels. We can shrink our cherries a little bit.
Ooh.
There we go.
Ooh, I've noticed a couple other things that we need to change. So the title of the page in the index.html still says Neapolitan.
Until you type. I see that. Thank you.
And also, I made, for the Neapolitan dude, I made a favicon.
Oh, I see it. Where does that live?
Assets directory. You can see this little favicon buddy. This is favicon.ico.
Adorable.
Thanks. I think that I just probably screenshotted a picture of Neapolitan ice cream, TBH. But
legitimate.
You know, we can do that too.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a screenshot of our Spumoni. Going to use the built-in Firefox screenshot tool just because it's actually kind of convenient.
Ooh. Potch convinced me recently to switch to Firefox, and it has been pretty great. I like it.
One of us. Okay, so download. So now I have a file on my computer. That is that screenshot. I'm going to rename it. Spumoni.png.
Have to be called favicon.ico.
Oh, you know, I believe you can say maybe favicon.png. I believe in the favicon you can say what it is.
Gotcha.
Like, I believe there's a meta tag you can put on the page. It says, this is where the favicon lives.
Yeah, there's on lines 6 and 7 in the index.html. We are adding 2 link relations. One for
Groovy.
icon and one for icon.
It's a little big, the favicon, but I think it will shrink it to order. So we will go in here. Oh, I see, icon. Oh, and you have it in 2 places.
Yeah, I don't really know why, but
well, sometimes you just go along with the flow.
that's why remixing is so great.
You go, that's what they did. Check it out. It's totally working.
Woo!
Do.
Love it.
Fast favicon. Cool. So, Spumoni. Look at that. That's the first project today. SVG favicons. Some browsers support SVG favicons. It's sort of annoying that some browsers don't. I actually can't even remember who does and who doesn't. But it seems like such an obvious thing that they take up less bytes. They're generally rendered really tiny.
Yeah, and they don't like get weird and wonky when you resize them.
So, first project, Spumoni. I'm super excited about this. Hour 1, first project. I'm pretty happy with this. What do you think, Lizzie? Anything else?
I think that one looks awesome. I am now looking to see if I can find a game that we can take and make it ice cream themed.
I love it.
One option is the card matching game, memory.
Is that a glitch project?
It is. Here, I will drop the link in the chat.
Do it. Let's see what this is.
So I'm wondering if we can somehow take this code and instead of using colors, if we could use images.
Oh, that could be interesting. What would you what kind of images would you use?
Originally, my thought was like match the ice cream name to its ingredients, or not ingredients, but like its special sauce. For example, Americone Dream has like bits of waffle cone in it. Or whatever.
So let's play this game really quick. So they're using color, it looks like?
Yes, they're using color. The last time I used this, or I was looking at this, is the counter in the top right is a little bit broken.
If I had to guess from looking at it, it's probably ticking as fast as it updates, which is always like a bad. That's a weird. But you can say if you try to update something every second and the timer itself is every second, it's gonna stutter and look weird because it's not. You're not gonna be able to get it exactly correct.
This time is hard.
Time is hard. Lunchtime doubly so.
Is that because of the threadiness?
It is because when you ask for a timer in JavaScript, you're not going to get the exact number. So you're gonna say, "Oh, let me know in 1 second." Also, it told me I won in just 3 seconds, which was demonstrably false. That took a very long time. I was very bad at that. So we have a couple things to take a look at here. But it's because if you ask for a timer, say, remind me again in 1 second, it's going to remind you in 59.9 seconds or 1.001 seconds. And so imagine if you were updating how long something's been and it's never quite exactly accurate, if you're doing it trying to line that up with the second, sometimes you're going to show the same number for 2 whole seconds. Sometimes you're going to skip a second because the things don't line up exactly correct. You want to clocks, even though when you're up, this is always counterintuitive, but updating a clock, you probably want to update it at least twice as often as the number visually changes. It's a squirrely thing. Ideally, you want to update it like way faster than the time it changes. That way, the millisecond that it actually changes, you're capturing that in updating the time. But even twice as fast is usually good enough for most people.
Yeah, it looks like this is using a library called KO.
I do not know what KO is.
It looks like it was called Knockout.
Oh, Knockout. This is Knockout, the Knockout library. I've heard of this.
Yeah, so in the index... Oh, should we remix this?
Yes, I just want to take a look at it really quick.
Right now.
Let's remix it before we accidentally type into it and do something we will regret.
The index.html is where the libraries are being loaded. So these libraries are being loaded from a CDN client side. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a place where these files, the _min.js, knockout.debug.js, moment.min.js, those live there. And by including them in script tags in your HTML file, you then have access to all of the elements in them. And you have sort of an option to load these either directly through this, or if you're using them on the server, you can also load them via node modules package.json. However, in this case, it looks like they are using it client side, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to load it in the client. And then like a third option, right, would be to go and actually make a new file in your glitch project called knockout.debug.js and like copy pasta the actual file over. So you have your own version of the library. That is sometimes a good idea, but it depends. Usually the library itself will tell you how best to use it. It'll be like, here's our CDN link or whatever.
I would say that Cloudflare CDN is pretty good. So I think we'll be okay using that for the time being.
One thing we should check though is version numbers. Make sure that these are like actually the right versions of these, maybe.
We could try updating them. I'd be worried that if we tried to get the latest versions of everything, we'd have a very bad time. I'm okay with using the old version. It might be, finding documentation might be tricky. Can you join? Yes, you can, Lizzie.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Okay. So one of the things that's going to be very different about what we're doing is it's going to be text and not color. This is interesting. It's I haven't looked at Knockout in a minute. What about you?
Yeah. So what is Knockout, the library? Should we look up the docs?
Yeah, let's do that. This is going to be fun because this is a library that I am not familiar with.
Okay, so can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, you sure can.
So it says simplify dynamic JavaScript UIs with the model view model pattern. Don't really know what that means. What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, I understand MVC, model view controller. I'm wondering if this is model view model.
Ooh.
Like, I think it's maybe actually only 3 because there's missing a dash there. The good news is the actual code for the application, pretty short. I don't know if you see that.
Just look up the one example in the documentation for ko.observable.
Yeah, I'd like to see what that is. Documentation. Observables. Creating view models with observables.
Answer my question. Model view model is a design pattern for building user interfaces. It describes how you can keep a potentially sophisticated UI simple by splitting it into 3 parts. A model, a view model, and a view. So in a model view controller framework, the model is the way that the data is stored, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the structure that represents the data.
Yeah, and then the view is the way that it is displayed. That
Correct.
Potentially has some templates or whatever that you can put stuff in. And then a controller is the thing that communicates between your database and what's a controller?
The controller is all of the business logic. So the view is what it looks like, the model is how the data is stored, and the controller is the thing that takes information in from the view, like a click, or we went to this URL, changes the model, updates the model, and then the model draws a new view. And that's a very simplified, likely, I'm sure I made some mistake, and someone was going to be like, actually, that's okay. So they're using Moment here, which is a datetime library, but it does seem to be acting a little bit funky. So we'll have to figure out what's going on there. But let's first figure out how we can get text into this thing, shall we?
Okay.
I'm going to take a look at index.html first. I believe that's where our view is being stored. You can see there's some sort of special data bind. You see that?
Ooh, is that a thing that you get from Knockout?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So a binding is when you have some sort of element and you add some sort of behavior to it, right? Like you're binding a reaction or some sort of whatever to that element so that when an event happens on that element, that binded thing occurs.
But it's both directions. So it's both, if something happens, that event occurs, but it's also the data flowing the other direction. So in this case, you'll see that cards, if you go back to clients.js, you'll see that cards have a property called content, which is observable. And if you take a look over in index.html, you'll see data bind for each card, and then they're binding the CSS to the content property, and click, which I'm going to guess is whether or not it's been clicked, to click.
Cool.
So what we want to...
It has to keep track of the cards themselves, the colors that are on the cards, whether or not you've clicked the card, whether the card matches.
Correct. I'm going to guess that style.css has some information in it that I need to see. And sure enough, yes, it does. Here's where all of the colors and I guess all the images from an earlier version of this game
Cats.
Live. And so they're using CSS classes. Do you see this? For card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, card 5, card 6, card 7, card 8, card 8 to... They're using...
Card is the first one, right? Oh, no, it's just 8. Never mind.
And so that's how they're storing color. We don't have to do that because we're using text. What we will need to do, let's see if we can let's make our first bold change here. This is exciting. I'm going to go to HTML, and instead of doing this, we want to say text content. This is going to look, I think, real funky at first, but I'm curious because we don't want to bind the text of, and sure enough, it doesn't look right at all. What it looks like is a bunch of dark things. That probably makes sense because I think they're all assuming they're hidden.
Yeah, because the card, on line 76 in the style, the background color of the card is black.
And they've never...
The CSS, then they never change.
Also, they never changed the text color to white, so we just can't see if there's text. So I'm going to set the text color to white, just to see if I can... Yep, there it is. So now we can see the content. Next thing we're going to do, because we have the power, is saying, instead of inline block, inline flex. And then we can say align items center, justify content center. And what that's going to do is just...
justify that?
I have justified the content, and now the text is centered. It's like a cheap vertical centering in the year 2019 in CSS. Not so bad.
So this is showing us, right click on this and click inspect element. This is the body of that div, like the inner HTML of that div is card 6 hidden or whatever.
Yes, and that's because if you look at line 26 of the HTML file, I've bound the observable called content to the text of that element. And Knockout's doing something.
How does that text appear as part of that element? I guess?
That is Knockout. I don't actually 100% know what that could, but Knockout reads the data bind thing and says, okay, the text of this element when I start the app will come from the observable called content.
Oh, I see. It's on line, so line 7, it makes the card, or it makes a color, this.color, card plus number. So it's a string, card 6, card 5, card 3, whatever. And then this.content takes that and then adds hidden to it.
Correct. So we're going to split those up. And we're going to say flavor and now I'm just starting to mangle things. This is going to be exciting. For now, I think that will be okay.
So why is it only showing one?
I'm sure I broke the code. I'm almost certain that the answer is I broke it.
Right, but how?
Well, I'm going to get my console connected and find out.
I wonder if they are all actually there, but for some reason they're on top of each other.
Also very reasonable to assume. For each cards, we look in the console. No, there's only one, which means it didn't bind right, but it also didn't give an error. That's very interesting. It just said, I don't want to do this anymore. So let's go take a look. I'm going to say the first guess is that I said it's bind to content, but actually I want flavor, and see if that fixes it. It did.
Nice. And why is that? Where did we change it to flavor?
I changed it in client.js.
Oh, that's because it was text content, not text.
Correct. And so it didn't give an error message. It just gave no message and didn't work.
Perfect.
Not my favorite, but you know.
So and then on line 10, the paired property, that's whether or not they like actually have made a match, right?
I think that's correct. Okay. So now we need to generate cards. Let's take a look at our cards. You see that down here. It's creating new cards. Yeah. And card takes 2 arguments. One, which is board, which we don't need. Maybe we do. I'm actually going to keep that. But it takes 2 arguments. It's the number of the card, you can see, which they're just doing by dividing by 2, and the board. We want to take 3 arguments because our matched cards are not going to be the same thing. They're going to be either the flavor name or the flavor description.
Right.
So I want to say... Oh, go ahead.
6?
Up there, but right now I'm on line 95. I'm sorry. Where we're generating them.
Right. But like the way that like to make that change a reality is if we do want cards to have 3 properties,
we will go up to line. Yeah, number is flavor name. I don't know. That's probably his flavor. Or maybe I'll say card type.
So the theory here is that if it is divisible by 2, then it is a flavor name, and then so if it's even, then it's a flavor name, and if it's odd, then it's a description.
Correct. I think it actually doesn't matter. I changed it to card type, so we'll just what we're gonna do is we're gonna say let flavors equals. We're gonna have an array up here. And then each flavor is going to have 8 different flavors, and they're going to be things like, right? Like, I don't know, like an ice cream flavor. And then...
Oh, so it's an array of
2-item arrays. This is my idea, at least.
I like it.
And then the cool part about that is we can now say... Is that 8? Can't count. Yeah, it's 8. And so now number is actually, we can say this dot number. I'm going to change this to be text number. And then it will be actually KO observable will be, so it'll be if card type.
I'm changing text in the HTML.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And then this will actually be flavors. Number type. Right?
Oh, I see. Okay. So card type will either be 1 or 0, which will refer to either the first or second element in each of those individual 2-member arrays.
Correct. I have an error right now, and that's because they are adding 1, and I don't want to, which is fine. We have a card 0 as opposed to having 1 through 8.
Hey, look at that.
So now we've got. Now we're getting closer. Self.content is not a function. I agree. So somewhere else, this is trying to modify that, and it's.
Wait, mine is working fine.
Oh, when I click, it has an error.
Oh, yep.
And we'll have to go in and fix that. But right, Lizzie, do you happen to have a list of Ben and Jerry's flavors?
I mean, not yet, but I can.
If we want to quick throw. Yeah, I'm going to quickly go in here and take a look at the other things I want to figure out. Because it's going to be hidden. And then...
Ooh. They have all kinds of new ones. Should I do the classics or should I do the new ones?
I think maybe, if there's a tantalizing new one, definitely add it.
Okay. You only get 8, so... Some of these are funny. Let's see.
Go in here and take a look at the plumbing that I need to do because I've changed a bunch of variable names.
I also just, the description is bigger than the box, so the text is causing styling issues in the grid, just FYI.
Ooh, okay, that's... Ooh, yeah, that's a lot of text. Maybe we can make the text size a little smaller. I think we're going to have trubs no matter what.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
cream.
I feel like I should be picking ones with like harder to guess names.
If you so choose. What's interesting is that it didn't actually really grow. It just kind of shifted weird. Do you see that?
Yeah, what is that about?
It's funky. If I had to guess, I think I have a theory for what that is. So I'll take a crack at fixing it.
Is it like some CSS nonsense?
Yep.
That's how I feel about CSS. I'm like,
Bingo. There we go.
What was it?
It's because I was using inline flex and inline things don't align. By default, they don't align centered. They align some other way. Honestly, I'd switch this to CSS grid if I had my druthers. But I want to focus on making it work.
I like making it work.
It's Tim Gunn is my spirit animal.
Make it work.
Make it work. So let's take a look. First of all, we shouldn't be. First of all, the text shouldn't be. So the first thing that I'm seeing is that actually by default, the text should be. I'm going to say ice cream. And only when it's not hidden will it display what it is.
Ooh. Love it. Okay, there's a Ben & Jerry's flavor called Oat of this swirled. And it just like feels like a
Yeah, I'm mad.
A whole lot of fun. A whole lot of fun.
That's a whole lot of pun. Got a whole lot of pun. And got a whole lot of pun. Gonna put some styles on this.
I'm just using the like subhead descriptions from the Ben & Jerry's website, but I do want to read you this like full description of
Please
the
do.
peanut butter cup ice cream that you are currently eating. So peanut butter cup, peanut butter ice cream with peanut butter cups. We interrupt our regularly scheduled programming to remind you how much you love ice cream, and that's perfectly peanut buttery and peanut butter cuppity at the same time.
I mean, they're right. I do really like it.
They just wanted to interrupt your regularly scheduled program.
Well, I appreciate that of them. My regularly scheduled ice cream live stream.
Yes, exactly. Scheduled many months in advance.
So remove the hidden class when. Okay, I think I understand what's going on here. It's a little. This is maybe not how I would have coded a memory game, but you know, this is perfectly serviceable.
What do you mean?
Oh, just the logic, how they've done the logic for the game.
I see.
The cool thing is, it's actually really not that bad.
So, can I talk for a minute about this?
Which thing?
This. Literally this. The
Please.
literal this.
Literal this, please.
So on line 24 in client.js, there's a line that says var self equals this.
Yes. That's...
This refers to the scope, like, so the how do you describe it? How do you describe this? What is this? I can try. I just don't think I'm gonna do it very well.
No. Yeah. Let me take a crack at it. In this case, in the particular case that we are dealing with, let's go with. This is a reference to the created JS object or class you've highlighted, card. Yes. So this is even though this line 17 says function card, it's actually like the old school JavaScript class declaration. And what that means is when I go down to where these cards are being created, you will see that it says new card on line 109. The new operator says, hey, that function up there, treat it like the constructor of an object. And it goes up to function card, and it creates a special variable namespace, a special variable called this inside of it. And that is a reference to the object that's being constructed. And so now there's a special object called this. And if you attach properties to it, such as all these things we're attaching to it, this.number, this.text, this.classes, all that stuff, at the end of the constructor, it will return that this object back down here. So when you say new card, what you get in return is the this that you attached all that stuff to in the function.
Cool.
Because functions are used for both constructors and for just doing stuff, just methods in JavaScript. Inside of a function that's in a function will itself have a this. And that's annoying because this dot clicked right here in line 33, we want to make changes to the card object. But the this inside this function isn't the card object, it's something else. In this case, I'm not sure 100% what it would be. It depends on where and when you called this.clicked. However, if you create a variable up here called self, this is a very common pattern, you're saving a reference to the this of the card's constructor. And because of the way that JavaScript scopes work, you can now access that object down here. You could call it outer this, you could call it parent this, you could call it object this. Self, for some reason, became a common name for that. A lot of the stuff we're facing here is fixed in using ES6 classes, but it's okay. This is an older way of doing things. It still totally works, but it creates a little bit of confusion because of the self object.
Totally.
How'd that go?
It is nice to see how it works underneath the hood, because isn't the ES6 class syntax just syntax? It doesn't actually change the construction, right?
Correct.
It's just like a shortcut for doing what we're doing here.
Correct. And there's a couple things that ES6 classes do that are fundamentally different and can't be replicated, but that's not important. Don't worry about it. I would say, waves hands, don't worry about it.
Cool.
You can see down, I've created a property of my object called classes, which lets me change CSS classes on the other object.
Where did you do that?
I did that in both index.html and down here, or up at the top of the card definition. You'll see line 20. I have created a thing called this.classes, and that lets me update the DOM with new classes for which is how the fact that you can, sometimes it says ice cream, sometimes it says the text, and the font size is changing. The ice creams are big, but the text is small, and I'm using CSS classes to control that. Oh, I happened to actually just get that right the first guess. And again, that was actually kind of creepy.
Wait, so...
Oh no, it's matching everything right now. I have made a mistake. I'm flawless at this game, Lizzie. Look at that.
And fish food are exactly the same.
Okay, so I've obviously made what I would describe as a boo-boo. Let's figure out what I did. So this says number. I'm going to call this ID because it's really not. And we don't need a string because I'm not. So this ID is a number. Now everywhere that's referenced, I have to go deal with it. But that's okay. It's going to be a little bit easier to read. Self.hidden, self-flavors, number is the same. So where is it checking to see if they match? Aha, here. If self.id equals board.firstcard.id. I had stopped using the color property, and so they were both always undefined, and so they always matched.
Wait, so undefined
I believe undefined.
Was undefined as truthy?
I think so, unless they were null. Let me check.
You love how every single entire programming question ever in my entire life comes down to what is truthy and falsy in JavaScript.
Yes, undefined triple equals undefined.
Oh my god. Okay.
JavaScript.
That's usually the first thing I check when my code isn't working is like, did I think something was truthy when actually it's falsy or vice versa? Like, for example, you can't ever, like, an array will never be equivalent to another array. That will always be false. But you can check different elements in the array, even if they have the exact same elements, and then those can all match. But the arrays themselves will always be falsy if you try to equal them or equivalent them, or whatever the verb is that I can't think of because I'm frustrated about truthiness and falsiness in JavaScript.
Trip equals. We're not using. We don't have a theme. Like we don't have the concept of cats and stuff. So I'm just gonna pull that out so it's not confusing. The descript. There's this concept. They had a concept of a theme where you could say cats or dogs or all that kind of stuff. I'm just getting rid of that because we don't have that concept of a theme.
Cool. I'll take it out of the view also then.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And now I think the only thing that's left to do is to update the copy. So I'm going to say try to match the name of the ice cream with its description. Maybe the flavor of the ice cream with its description.
It says the flavor meat on my...
The flavor me. The flavor me. Okay.
Why does it have an ellipsis at the end? Can it not have an ellipsis at the end?
It sure can not have an ellipsis at the end. How about this? How about a vertical ellipsis? Did that work?
Perfect. Love it.
Did it actually make the vertical ellipsis? It did.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if I named the if I got the HTML entity for vertical ellipsis right. Okay, how about an exclamation? It's exciting.
Perfect.
So let's see if this is actually beatable. Oh, Lizzie, this may have been harder than I anticipated.
Yes.
This is actually tremendously difficult. You got one?
Oh, wait, no. 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 Come back. Yes, I got one.
I don't know. I don't know. I randomly got one. I don't know literally any of these.
Yeah, I didn't do the easiest flavors.
That's fine. It's, brute force. This is, oh, you like ice cream, huh? Name 3 of their flavors.
Yeah, I got a second one.
This is actually nearly impossible. Good work.
Oh, I got a third one, too.
I'm just brute forcing it. I'm clicking and just then clicking everything else until it matches.
I'm really appreciative that I included one in here called Glampfire Trail Mix.
I'm actually appreciative of that, too. We're going to have to make the boxes bigger to hold all the text. But, 53 seconds. 53 seconds. Okay, so let's make the boxes bigger. And let's do that using CSS Grid because, well, we're here. We're in here, We really in here.
We out here.
Grid.
Man.
Grid template. Rows. Repeat. What is it? For 150px? I don't know. Is that right?
I don't know. Now it's there twice. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Wow, my double-click select is being... It's not... I think the ice cream is kicking in. I think I think I'm having the trubs, Lizzie. Ooh, I mean, that worked, I guess, but everything else got bad.
I mean, yeah, it looks beautiful except for all the other things.
Except for all the other parts
So
that are definitely broken.
if you
Oh,
use
I
CSS
see.
grid,
I definitely put this in the wrong spot. So
mm, oh, you put it in page.
I changed the page, not the board. So I just relayed the page out as a grid. Not the best. Sorry, what were you going to ask? Now that I've unhorked this slightly?
I was going to say, if you use CSS grids for one part of the page, do you have to use them for every part of the page? But the
No.
answer looks like it's no.
Well, it on paper is no, but you can see that actually this does not seem to be working. So let's make sure. I think it's just there's a descendant div that I just need to target. So I think it looks like
Oh, I didn't know you
that.
could do that.
Oh yeah.
Is this a div inside of board?
That's saying a board with a direct child that is a div. So not any div inside of board, but only the board that is only the div that's directly inside of board. These cards have their own intrinsic size. I want to turn that off because I don't want it. I don't have to make these inline flex anymore because grid's laying them out. I don't have to vertically align them middle anymore because grid's laying them out. I'm not using backgrounds on any of these, so I can take out the background properties. I don't need margins on them because grid is laying them out, so we will use grid gap instead.
How long does it take you to like remember these things?
Grid took me a while, but because I was at the time working at Mozilla and they were implementing grid, I spent a lot of time playing with grid before it ever shipped. So I've been heavily exposed to grid as a concept,
Cool.
which I think gave me a little bit of an advantage. Padding,
So
4px, a
in
little bit of padding
this
inside.
CSS, there's a bunch of stuff in here that we're just not using, right? Like in addition to all of the card colors and images and stuff, right? It says input and text area.
I think that comes in the default, I want to say that comes in like one of the default remixable things. Maybe there was a knockout thing that just, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to delete all the bits that are...
Perfect.
And then I think I like that the face... I don't like that the colors are the same for flipped over and face up.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to flip them and say... like so. So there'll be white cards until they've been flipped. I think that'll work. Yeah. That work for you?
Yeah.
One other thing, I want a little more... nothing is centered anymore. I want to fix that. That was a goof on my part when I changed page. So I'm going to say... how best to do that? That's kind of a pain in the butt. Tempted just to say, just do the classic text align center, because I'm lazy.
Yeah, that's always how I learned how to do it.
I made the thing wider than 500 pixels, so I need to... Let's try 800. See how that looks. That looks okay, but the grid's off center. So now I want to make the grid itself, the board itself, also be centered. So margin. Let's also put it.
I love these intermediate steps.
Which everything flies around.
It's really fun to watch.
So that didn't actually change anything. Doesn't look like. Let's see what's going on.
Should we poke at the timer, or is that a thing that we should not do today?
The timer? Yeah, if we want to see what's going on with the timer, we should do so. What were you seeing?
So it's either... So first of all, once it gets past 60 seconds, it loops back around to 0.
Oh, does it?
Past 59.9. Which is why it said that you did it in 3 seconds. You did it in 63 seconds.
Oh.
Yeah. But also, what you were saying, like the seconds are not ticking up in seconds. It was like every time you click, the second will tick.
I see that.
This time it just started at 7. I don't really know why.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the timer while we're in here. We're in here, so let's... So right now it looks like it's setting, okay, so if the board hasn't started yet, so if the game hasn't started yet, so if board start time is null, then board start time is moment, and then they're saying every 800 milliseconds, update
What?
the time.
Oh. What?
Do you see that line? Do you see that section? It's in clicked.
Oh, it's set interval. I was like, what? Why? I didn't see the set interval there.
So what I want to do is I actually am going to not use moment here. I know, forgive me everyone. But moment's a lot of overkill to keep track of time in milliseconds. This should really just be like board elapsed equals, well, what was the original start time? So it's going to be date.now minus board.start time. Thank you. And then we'll take that number and divide it by 1,000 because we want it in seconds, and that would be in milliseconds. And then lastly, we take that value, we wrap it in parentheses, and we say, let's say, to fixed 3, 2, 1. Let's do 1.
Okay.
And then I'm going to update how often that updates to every 100 milliseconds. And let's see what that looks like. Let's see how bad a job I did. I'll explain what some of that did. Aha! Take a look at that.
Yeah. Nice.
So, let's go in and show what that looks like. So date.now gives the current time in milliseconds. Elapsed is a thing that displays on the screen. So I'm getting the difference between the current time in milliseconds and the start time in milliseconds. I want it in seconds, so I'm dividing by 1,000 for there are 1,000 milliseconds in a second. And then I'm taking advantage of a relatively new, but it's ES6, so we're using ES6 for like let and all that kind of stuff. So you can use what's called toFixed. And toFixed is literally saying, give me this number with a fixed number of decimal places. It's a really nice thing. So any number, you can say toFixed, and it automatically rounds it to n decimal places. So as opposed to using moment string formatting, I'm saying, give me the number rounded to the nearest tenth of a second.
Yeah, and that's really handy too if you're doing anything with money, because you can make sure that it displays 2 decimal points or 2 decimal places always, even if it's like 40 cents. It doesn't just say 0.4.
It doesn't say 0.4, right? toFixed will extend it and shrink it. It does both for you. So anyone who is messing with money in JavaScript is out for...
Hey, isn't everybody using JavaScript messing with money? Am I right?
Well, yeah, they're lighting it on fire.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
What is this a force situation?
I have absolutely no idea. This clicked. Do you see it being called with force anywhere?
Force.
Guess it would be clicked. A call to clicked with the force property. Yes. Clear board.
Oh.
They're using it to reset things. Okay. That's maybe not what I would do, but okay.
I see.
They're
effectively useful for multiple boards. Like if you are doing the like.
What the nice part about it is this function is your reset, right? This is reset. And so because we have a reference, the things about this program, it works. Things that are a little funky is there is a board model, which is down here, which is a class, but then you pass the board model into the card, and then you're using that reference. So all of the game logic lives inside the card, as opposed to the game, as opposed to there being a model for a card, a model for the board, and then a function, and then some sort of code that is the game logic that manipulates both of those things. All of the game logic for this game lives inside of the implementation of every card, which is also weird. It means there's technically like 16 copies of Clearboard that all do the same thing.
That decision making was related to needing to reference a card constantly, and it's just easier to do it inside of the card.
Yeah, I think so. You could write this theoretically. I know the kitty is meowing. You could do this technically. Maybe you could have some function called, right, some outer function that's like toggle card. Oh, I just blew everything up. Oh my goodness, there. My computer. OBS is not, I should not have installed that new OBS. It is being my computer thus slow. And you would say card, right? And then when you click, when you click on a card, you could call toggle card. That would flip, change it. Or you could listen on the board. So right now, the cards themselves are listening for clicks, but you could listen to the board for the click and then figure out which card you clicked on. And so there's only one click listener, and you know which card it is, and then you manipulate the card and say, you be flipped over, you be not flipped over. There's a couple different ways you could do this. This absolutely works. So there's no, there's no reason to, like, throw this out. I did just notice, I don't know that it ever resets the number of pairs left. So I'm curious, if you beat this game twice in a row, do you beat it instantly the second time?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know what happens after you beat it.
Me neither. Let me see how fast I can beat this just to do a test. It was Mint. Mint wasn't Mint Wonderland? Yeah, there we go. Ooh, I also just got it into a weird... Oh, no, that's all right. Fish food? No. Out of this world.
I love that in order to like figure this out, we have to actually win the game.
Yeah, we did. Well, there's no special function that says, move to this state of the game, please.
Oh, hey, this is not related to ice cream, but I think it would be cool. Do you remember the game that you made where it would just calculate a bunch of different games of set?
Yeah.
And then how many were left over at the end? How many potential, like, what is the potential number of cards to be unsettable?
Yeah, it was like, could you play a perfect game of set and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Aha! So you'll see here, you win in just 55.8 seconds. Refresh the page to restart.
So no.
So, no, but there is a function that resets everything. So it's almost like...
Should we add a restart button?
No. I mean, that would be a lot of work. I'm happy that this... Okay. Here's the thing, Lizzie. A classic theme of these streams is right at the end, I'm like, it's working, and then I try to add one more feature, and then I run out of time trying to fix it because I broke it right before I wrapped up. That would be maybe if there was like if there was some sort of crest, like family crest of like my streams, it would be me frantically trying to introduce a bug I added at the last minute of the stream. Not sure how to capture that. My slogan is just it was working. So yeah, this totally works. Maybe we can go in and polish up some of the copy, since it says something that says things about images.
Wait, what do you mean?
If you notice, like there's all this kind of little text that pops up as you click. And I just want to change what some of those things say. Like it says images, and we're not using images, so.
Right. And that all lives in the.
That's all in card.
Yeah. Can I make this happy face a sad face?
Please do.
No, I think I want to make it a squiggly face. Maybe a face with a mustache.
Yeah, I would say just throw an emoji in there too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot I could do that.
Instead of oh no, I'm going to say brain freeze.
Wait, can I add emojis from my Mac? Oh, there we go. I did it. It's a sparkly heart.
I think, is that all the references to images? Oh, try to find 2 cards with the same image up on line 30.
Well, so that one is the inside of Clearboard, which never gets called.
It does get called. I don't know why. But I believe that should be the same text as from line 121, where you have the sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to copy that code up.
All text is improved by adding a sparkles emoji at the end.
That's just science.
Don't blame me.
In which case, the brain freeze thing needs like a frozen face. The freeze.
Exist?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Let's see if we can get this. Come on, computer. Computer better. There we go. So now if you mismatch. Love it.
I'm trying to get a pair. It says now find another pair, so I'm just gonna do the dancers.
Nice. See if did that one work? Because that one sometimes is because it's got it worked. It just looks funky in the editor, but it looks fine on the screen.
It says now find your flippers friend.
I wrote that. I don't know. I'm sugar crashing, Lizzie.
Try and find. Okay, now find your flavors.
Because we don't know I don't know whether you've clicked the name or the description first.
Oh, I see.
So I just picked the word friend.
I like it. I like it. I think it's great. Oh my god. Are you editing right now?
Yeah, sorry. Is everything going?
I'm trying to play the game and keeps reloading. It's okay. I like it.
1 second. I'm missing what? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
In terms of fun things, if this wasn't the end of the stream and we weren't trying to not break it, one thing to add in addition to like a remix button might be like number of pairs left. Like
yeah.
Display, counting down of the like from 8 to 0.
Which is a thing the code is tracking already.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just be a matter of.
Yeah, board.pairs left.
Mm-hmm. You'd have to change that into a what's it called? An observable.
Mm-hmm. Are observables built into the language now?
No, this is a knockout concept, and there isn't an equivalent in JS that I know of.
Oh, RxJS.
And these observables, I'm not sure. Are these the same observables as RxJS? I don't actually know if Knockout is an RxJS like friend.
I don't know what RxJS is.
Responsive extension or reactive extensions to JavaScript.
Oh,
they're neat.
That's cool. Now I want to make something with RxJS.
RxJS is cool. You could do worse. For instance, you could try to write everything by hand. That would be doing worse.
Yeah, I also noticed that this this app uses underscore JS library, and it's just on line 111 where it uses the shuffle method. Yeah,
and so that's potentially valid, but also that's potentially. I mean, underscore is a relatively performant library, but that could potentially be a lot of code for not a tremendous quantity of.
Right, and then the other library that is linked in the HTML file is jQuery, and the only place jQuery is being used is at the very bottom of client.js.
Exactly once.
Yeah, what is it doing? It says...
It's actually being used. This is equivalent to saying what? Window.add event. It's not exactly equivalent, but it's almost equivalent to saying. They're using jQuery just as like an onload listener, which is like, I'm going to say, unbelievably overkill. So we removed moment, so we can actually remove the reference to moment, and this page should load faster. And I've removed jQuery, I think, right? Is that all? Is that the only jQuery usage?
I think so.
Well,
I guess we'll find out when you.
Guess we'll find out when I remove it. You know what? I would say argue on the, I would argue, on the side of using the library if you're not confident, and then, oh yeah, Keyturn just asked, did we remove the moment source after you changed it to just use date now? We hadn't, but now we have. Which just spares us some bytes.
Yeah, we have some colleagues who are doing a JavaScript reading group right now, and they're reading Eloquent JavaScript, which is awesome.
Eloquent JavaScript, great book.
Really good book. The thing about books like that, though, is they present concepts that sometimes, if you're early in your learning journey, you don't really understand how that concept can be applied, or like where it should be applied. And my kind of response to that when a colleague says, like, for example, what is a closure and why should I use it? Is do the thing the way you know how to do it. And then if at some point someone in the future might review your code and say, like, oh, hey, this would be more efficient or simpler or whatever if you used a closure, or if you use this other construction because of XYZ. So for the most part, that kind of thing, if you know how to use it, how to do it with jQuery, but you don't know how to do it without jQuery, then use jQuery. And then later on, someone will probably tell you at some point, like, maybe think about not doing that, or using this other thing, or whatever.
I would say, yeah, I think one of the nice parts about the language is when you're learning the language, they may introduce concepts to you, but, like, do the thing you understand.
Yeah, that's pretty much, that's like the TLDR.
Do the thing you understand, and later on you're like, gosh, I wish I knew how to blah. And then you're like, oh, maybe one of those concepts I learned but haven't used applies. So it's 2:56, and my ice cream...
So you just have peanut butter cups now.
I just have peanut butter cups and sort of a rich milk.
Yes, you might think like this. It's like very, it's definitely like squishy, but it's more like mousse-like.
That's one up for coconut cream. So I don't think I want to eat this, but I do think that maybe that's a sign that we are wrapped for the week. Lyzi, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here and being good and bad idea fuel. As always.
Yes, love bad ideas. Here for it all the time.
This week we made Spumoni, but we learned Knockout in an hour. I just want the record to show that we stumbled into a project using a framework that neither of us had ever used before. And by the end, I feel like I understood it and were able to make changes with a modicum of confidence.
Yeah, big ups to our two former colleagues, Gareth and Emanuele, and our current colleague, Jen, for building this app originally. So
yes. And making it so we could just stumble in and run into walls and ultimately get things done.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the ice cream live stream.